In the early 1970s, Houston was hiding a monster. Teenage boys were vanishing, one after another. Some were runaways. Others just disappeared. No one knew why. Until August 1973, when a teenage accomplice pulled a trigger and exposed one of the most horrifying killing sprees in U.S. history. Dean Corll, known as the Candyman, and with him two teenage boys, Wayne Henley and David Brooks. They lured, tortured, raped, and murdered at least 28 young boys. And that's only the ones we know about. But one boy, Mark Scott, was never found. This is the story of his final days, and the woman who tried to bring him back from the dead. Decades later, in a sleek silver BMW, Dr. Sharon Derrick, a forensic anthropologist, drove north from Houston, past pine woods, prisons, and quiet fields. She wasn't on her way to examine bones. She was going to speak with a killer, Wayne Henley. She was looking for answers, for names, for the truth. Because even after the mass graves were uncovered, not all of the victims were identified. Some families still waited. Some graves remained empty. Derrick was hoping Henley remembered something, anything that could help. She had done her homework. She read his 1973 statements, dug up old police files, even found tape recordings from a bizarre hypnosis session Henley had agreed to in the 1980s. She parked at the prison, left her phone in the car, standard procedure, and stepped inside. No tape recorder, just blank paper, a pen, and a mind trained to catch every inconsistency. A guard led her into a featureless room, a swivel chair, a bare desk. And then the door opened. In walked Wayne Henley. Henley cracked a grin. "When I first got here," he said, "the other inmates kept dumping boxes of cereal on my seat. Because I was a serial killer." Sharon didn't laugh. "And then tied to a torture board." She had learned, if you want a killer to talk, you have to listen. She had seen the aftermath, bones exhumed from lime pits, names etched on missing posters, families broken by silence. She wasn't here for jokes, but it was the first time the killer spoke this openly. This wasn't her first time speaking with a killer. Wayne Henley launched into the story with the tone of a practiced Texas storyteller. He described killing boys he had grown up with, kids he'd played ball with, laughed with. Sharon took notes, fast. She kept eye contact, because Henley wanted to be heard. Then came the name, Mark Scott. Henley paused. Mark wasn't just another victim. He was his neighbor, his friend. They went to school together. Henley admitted he knew Mark better than most. And in April 1972, Dean Corll decided that Mark had to go. Why? Henley couldn't or wouldn't say. Dean said he was talking too much, Henley told Sharon. So Henley picked him up. Mark didn't resist. Why would he? He trusted Henley. They went to Corll's apartment on Schuler Street. Mark had been there before at parties. He didn't know this time would be different. Inside, Henley said, they overpowered him, handcuffed him, tied him to a plywood torture board. And for the next 2 nights and 1 long day, Mark Scott was kept alive. He was raped, beaten, burned with cigarettes, slowly, letting the hair fall to the floor like something sacred being destroyed. All 3 of them, Corll, Henley, and Brooks, took turns. Henley, knowing how much Mark loved his long blonde hair, shaved his head. Sharon, hardened by years of forensic work, said this moment felt different. She thought, just maybe, Henley felt remorse. For this one boy, his friend. But the horror wasn't over. Mark Scott tried to escape. Late at night, while the others slept, he worked his way loose just enough to reach a rotary phone. He dialed a friend, but gagged and terrified, he couldn't get the words out. They didn't understand. They didn't come. Mark hid a small knife. He waited, tried again to fight, but Henley was there. "I grabbed it," Henley told Sharon, and then he kind of gave up. Then came the final hours. They shot Mark with a pellet gun over and over. Corll raped him again. And finally, he handed the job over to Henley. It didn't work. "Pop your cherry," Corll said. It was time for Henley to make his first kill. Henley tried strangling Mark, so he picked up a gun and pulled the trigger. Mark Scott begged for his life. Henley didn't stop. "I killed him because Dean told me to," Henley said. "Maybe I enjoyed it. Maybe I just didn't care anymore."